Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're looking at functions. That's from section 1-7. Two learning targets today. First is I can determine if a relation is a function, and second is I can find values of functions. So those are the two things we really want to learn today. Let's look at some examples of ways that data can be represented. And again, we learned this the last time. These are relations. They're all relations. Now we want to determine if specifically if these can be functions. Now, a function is just a special kind of relation where each x value has only one y value that it goes with. Okay, so again, a function is just a special relation that for every x there is only one y value that it goes with. So let's look at these. In this first one, we have the x, remember the domains are the x parts and the ranges are the y parts. So if we look at the x values, we have 8 going with a -1, we have 5 going with 0, and we have 2 going with a -1. So each x value goes with only one y value. There's no repeat. So in other words, 8 doesn't go with something other than -1. It only goes with -1. It doesn't have a second thing that 8 goes with. Same with 5 and same with 2. So even though 8 and 2 both go to the same number, each of those only goes to one y value, so that would be a function. In this second case, and I'm just going to grab something I can write with here. So we're looking at this graph. So this is what is being graphed. And to do this, you can see that there's an x value here of 1, 2, 3. It looks like x is 3. So 3 goes with 0 here. But here 3 goes with -1, 3 goes with +1. So this, what they would say is this fails the vertical line test. You could draw a vertical line and hit more than one point. So if you draw your vertical line going through, it would go through all the points on this line. So this one would not be a function. So this one's a no. And let's see, so this one's a yes. And I'm just going to change this to a no real quick so we don't get confused on it later. So that's a no. This one also would fail the vertical line test. I could draw a vertical line like this and hit 2 points. I could do another one over here and hit 2 points. If you can draw a line up and down and hit more than 1 point, then it will not be a function. So that's a no. Looking at this one, we have 2 going with -9, and we also a little bit further down here have 2 going with 3. So you have the same x value of 2 going with two different values there, so that would be a no. That will not work. Okay, so now let's look at one more thing. Function notation, and this will help us with our second learning target of evaluating functions. Function notation, basically in function notation, f of x will replace y. So in this example we have the equation first, y equals 3x minus 8. So since y is a function of x, in other words, as x changes, y will change as well, we can just replace y with f of x. And now we can substitute specific values of x into the function to find the corresponding range or y values. So let's look at this one. Let's say that we're plugging 2 in. So we say the function of 2 equals 3, and now we just replace this 2 wherever we see an x. So 3 times 2 here, and then minus 8. And then if we were doing another example, for example, we could say f of 5 equals 3 times 5 minus 8. So all this is saying is we're going to substitute a different value of x in place of every x we see depending on what it is. So this is the function of 2. This is a function of 5, which means we replace every x with 5. In the first case, we'd replace every x with 2. Then we can go ahead and evaluate both of these. So on this first one over here, so 3 times 2 is 6, minus 8 equals negative 2. And on this one over here, function of 5, 3 times 5 minus 8 is going to be 15 minus 8 equals 7. So in this case, f of 2, or function of 2, is negative 2, and the function of 5 is 7. So what we've really done here is we have first learned how to identify whether something is a function or not. And then in the second part here, when we learned about function notation, we've learned how to find function values. We put specific values of x in place, and then we can find what y is going to be based on x being a certain number. And this is how we can then identify specific function values. So thanks very much for listening. I'll look forward to any questions you have in class on this, and I will look forward to seeing you real soon. Take care. Have a very good day.